extending upon the idea about why creativity is taught so badly, one of the observations I've made over the time that I've been creating spatial thinking and really thinking about some of this stuff, I find it funny that as a parent, I have a daughter, um, that when the kid's young, well, the baby starts talking, right? Then you encourage talking, and of course, play is a big part of obviously being a kid. So you encourage play, toy blocks, all that kind of stuff, really healthy stuff, right? Less screen time, da 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 da, right? Then as you grow up, they start drawing, and they start drawing, things you can recognize, and you love it. You encourage drawing, you buy art stuff, you buy craft stuff, use your hands, make things. And it's funny when you get to, primary school and then maybe high school, you start saying stuff like, why are you wasting time drawing now? You've done it when you were a kid. Now it's time to focus on math and English and stop drawing, right? Um, and it's sort of interesting because here we are going, we need to get better with creativity. We need to get better with innovation. And obviously, creativity and design is very much a part of innovation. And we want our kids to learn how to be innovative. And yet, when you get to high school and primary school, it seems to die down in terms of encouraging them to, you know, sort of invest into more time on art and things like that. Because obviously there's more subjects, and math seems to be a really sort of subject with high importance. And I think at the same time the schools start running out of things to teach, because in our class you teach again the craft, the painting, how do you make pottery, and then when you get to when you get to high school, it still continues on like that. Isn't creativity much better taught as a thinking process? I mean, we are there to try to encourage critical thinking, and critical thinking is one of the things that entice, in my mind at least, a lot of international students to come into Western universities, because critical thinking is kind of poorly emphasized in other countries compared to in Western countries. Um, and and yet you see that where is critical thinking employed? I know, of course, each subject has critical thinking embedded into things, right? But the creative and design process really is where you harness a lot of that critical thinking. It is sort of all the same kind of thing, right? And and yet we seem to sort of be very loose or very irresponsible about the way we sort of exact a process towards how to become strong critical thinkers, aka strong creative and design thinkers. Designing your life, designing your subject, designing your everyday life, designing your plans. Everything requires some form of design, you know. But we don't teach it. We don't really teach, that thinking process. And maybe some of you are going to say, but we teach design thinking. But the design thinking process that's being populated at the moment, or popular at the moment, doesn't really guarantee or doesn't really focus on that very personal creative creator or becoming a strong creative. It might focus on things like iteration, prototyping, brainstorming, basically project based, to deliver a design process in a business sense, a user centric model, or a business centric model. But where is the model that is somewhere between the arty farty individualist personal process and something that delivers real results again, but still comes from an individual? Because no matter what happens, obviously I work in the design field, I work in architecture, we always work in teams. But no matter how big the team or how small the team, no matter which scenario it is, creativity at the end of the day comes from someone. You don't design by committee. Nobody designs by committee. Three people can't design one thing. I mean, there might be a hierarchy where there's a leader and there's a senior, there's a secondary leader and there's a junior. That's fine, but it is one person, and it might be a collection of one person's individual creative output, and then all Frankenstein together. And that is actually often the case in the professional world. Often it is a Frankenstein of design solutions or design ideas, and that is why I call my hometown Sydney. Sometimes I call it a creative mess, because it's not really pulling ideas together. It's just bits and pieces of this here juxtaposed against each other, not really talking to each other, and very absent-mindedly put together. Okay, so long story short, or just to start to end this is one of the other parts of why creativity is taught so poorly, and why we sort of seem to put less focus on this sort of creative process as our kids get older, and then later on kind of expect you to already have it, even though it's not trained very well in school, high school, or university.